The following program is a paid commercial announcement. The sponsor is responsible for its content, which Talk Radio 790 KABC does not necessarily endorse or support. It's time for Protecting Your Family with your host, attorney and insurance expert Naz Barouti. Naz Barouti is managing attorney at the Barouti Law Firm and has worked very hard to help families create, protect, and transfer their wealth. Naz brings an intelligent and strategic look at planning ahead for the day when you're not around to take care of your family. Take the first step this evening and find out what you can do to prepare for the future. The time is now, so let's get you started today.
Welcome to Protecting Your Family on Talk Radio 790 KABC. I'm your host, attorney Naz Barouti, joined by my lovely co-host, Kerri Kasem. If this is the first time you're tuning in, welcome to our program. We hope that we can give you some information where you can learn how to protect yourself legally, and we sneak in a little life and style here and there.
We do. And you know what? That helps too. It doesn't have to always be serious and law stuff. It can be, helping with your beauty tips, your relationships.
That's the number one. Well, I want to start off with talking about Bethenny Frankel from Real Housewives of New York.
Oh, yeah.
She's back on the show. I like her. She is fiery. She is not down for any BS.
She's an incredible businesswoman.
She's
an
amazing.
Incredible businesswoman. What she has done, I don't care what you say about the Skinny Girl brand. I don't know if she's close to a billionaire, but I think it's getting there.
I mean, she worked her butt off to get where she is, and she's really sacrificed. And as many of you know, she's been going through a really messy divorce with Jason Hoppy, whatever his name is. They weren't married for that long. They do share one daughter, but a court just said, a judge, that she has to pay spousal support. You will die when you hear how much. Are you ready?
Well, look, if somebody's the breadwinner in the family, that's how much it is. It's what guys do.
But this is ridiculous because the Skinny Girl brand, she literally built from the ground up.
But that's what happens when you get married.
I know, but let me just maybe give you the numbers and maybe you'll see what I'm saying.
Okay.
So because she makes 50 times more than her ex-husband,
yes,
she has to pay him $26,000 a month plus another $100,000 in lawyer's fees.
Sorry, that's not very much. She's close to being a billionaire. Look, it's not going to be for that long because they weren't married that long. So $26,000 could be like $260 to some of us compared to what her bank account is. She married him, and would this be the same thing if somebody married Donald Trump? Do you know what I mean? Like if somebody divorced Donald Trump, $26,000 with a kid is not that much compared to how you were living.
I understand that, but it's the principle. It's not the amount. You have to just think for a minute, 1 minute here. You built Kasem Cares Foundation from the ground up, and then you have like a brand, and then you have a book. Let's say you get married for 2 years, and the guy comes in and tries to take your fortune.
But that's the law. Well, I'm trying to figure out why you're so shocked about this.
Because I think the reason that I'm shocked is because if you see the reality show that they had together, he is upset from day one that she makes more money.
Well, that's her fault then for marrying the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Take responsibility.
I understand that, but there's got to be a point where the law steps in and says, you know what? This person worked hard for what they have. And this is why I don't understand when people make this much money, why their legal team.
So if it was a single mom, see, I don't agree with you at all. If it was a single mom and the guy was a billionaire
and they were married for 1 year.
Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
You made a mistake.
I absolutely don't think that woman should be entitled to $26,000
Do you know how long he's getting
alimony?
Do you know how long he's getting
Well, let me
not that long, just to let you know.
Wait, what?
He's getting alimony. It's not going to be that long.
Yeah, but this is what grosses me out about him is he had someone finance his divorce to pay for his legal fees because he knew how much he could milk out of her.
Because that is what happens in this country. Why people are so, they want to rush into marriage is beyond me. Because if you look at the divorce rate, people do not think it through. They don't know the people they're marrying. They don't get the right, like you always discuss, the right documents and estate plans together. They don't know what they're doing. To rush into a marriage like she did, I don't think they were dating that long before they got married.
I think she got pregnant before they got married.
So there were some bad decisions made, not necessarily the pregnancy or this and that, but just bad decisions. And look, you didn't know this guy as well as you thought you did, okay? And you married him. And you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, right? That is her bad decision. $26,000 for a year is not going to be that much at all for her.
I think the thing that bothers me is because I watched that reality show religiously, and he just had such a bad attitude. And I think the problem here is that she sold skinny girls while they were married.
Yeah.
She sold it for a huge amount, and he thinks that he owns a percentage of it because he helped in the deal and the transaction. But it's like, you see what that person goes through when they sacrifice, and she didn't have enough money for rent.
What do you think happens every day to men? What do you think happens every single day to men?
Just because it happens to men doesn't mean
gold diggers that do the same thing.
But that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't justify what he's doing just because men have a history of being used.
You're putting the responsibility
diggers
on the wrong person.
What responsibility?
The responsibility is for the one who has the money, that knows they can be really taken advantage of, and has to be careful and know who they get married to. She did not know him. And this is what happens when men do not know the person they're marrying, do not care to because they're hot and pretty and young and they like me, and oh my God, I've just won the
Listen, I'm not opposed to spousal support, but reasonable spousal support.
But it is because you have to look, it's all relative, Naz. It's all relative.
I understand
this woman is making hundreds of millions of dollars. $26,000 a month is like, honestly, $26 for the average person not making a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So it's not much money.
I'm not looking at the numbers. I'm looking at the principle of the whole thing. The fact that
then what's the law supposed to do then?
Because the fact that they weren't married that long, the fact that he has been really nasty in the divorce, these are all things that should have been taken into consideration. I feel like she's being punished because she's a celebrity and she's a public figure, and these courts take these public figures and try to teach an example to everyone else and punish them harder than they would any other person.
I don't agree with you at all. I don't agree with you at all. I've seen this happen a million times to friends of mine who have a lot of money, to people that I know that have gotten divorced. Nasty, nasty, nasty divorces. They're just not played out on TV, and they're not on TMZ. Look, I have seen people marry for money, and it's a disgusting divorce. It's absolutely disgusting. A guy that's worked his whole life, built an empire, thinks he's marrying this really sweet, beautiful young girl, and she just, she's not what, she is. She's cheating on him behind, the scene. She's got a boyfriend. She's taking his credit card and taking her girls all out to Vegas and going and partying, or she's, telling him horrible things and saying horrible things to him. They get divorced and she gets half. I mean, look, it happens all the time. You have to be responsible for marrying the person you're marrying. You have to know them through and through. And look, there are some people who change, and there are some people who are going to be duped. Yes, that's going to happen. But shame on her for getting knocked up. And look, a lot of people do, okay? But not knowing the person. You didn't have to marry him just because you got pregnant.
Kerri, people are married for 30 years and they don't know who they're married to.
Maybe.
So if she had waited, 5 more years before she got married, or
she
10
should
more
not
years
have married him. She should not. She should have had a baby with him, gotten to know him better, gotten to know, okay, this is the guy I'm going to share my life with. Maybe in it was a year or 2 years? She would have known.
My thing is that her legal team should have pushed for a prenuptial agreement. And I don't know why the legal team didn't encourage her, didn't force her. That's my issue.
I agree with you. there.
That her legal team failed her here.
100% agree with you, 100%. Her legal team absolutely failed her. If she was not smart enough or to get a prenup, her fault. Once again, you're taking responsibility away from somebody who made all the wrong decisions. It's her responsibility. Luckily, she's only going to have to pay spousal support for a very short time.
Well, we don't know how long. They haven't said how long. But
you can't. It goes by how many years you were married.
No, sometimes it goes by the fact that
if that child's living with them.
No, it goes sometimes by the fact that if that person gets remarried, then spousal support gets cut off.
Well, that too, but that's with everything. I'm just saying but it always goes with how long you've been married.
Well,
they make a judgment on that.
She has to. Okay, she makes $5 million a year, and he makes about $100,000 a year.
Right, but she's worth so much more from her company.
But they base it on income of what you report. She has to pay 97% of their daughter's $600 a month preschool tuition. Not a big deal.
Right.
$900 a month in extracurricular costs. What is a 4-year-old doing? What's the extracurricular cost? I'm wondering.
Probably having nannies.
Yeah,
or maybe,
probably.
Yeah.
She was also ordered to pay Hoppy $3,000 a month in child support and about $12,000 in alimony. And she also has to pay $11,000 per month in for the cost to maintain their the former couple's lavish $5 million Tribeca apartment, which she was basically forced out of, she was living from hotel to hotel because he would not leave the apartment.
Once again, her fault for not knowing who she married. I blame it on her. She's going to take responsibility. I'm sure she's a responsible person that's done this. And you know what? She probably will never do this again. She'll probably never get remarried on a whim.
Yeah, I don't think she's ever going to get remarried.
Yeah, probably not.
I feel really bad for her, only because I guess when you see it on reality television, you almost feel like you know the character because they really become a character. Yeah. But we don't know what happened behind closed doors. We don't know if she even brought up the idea of a prenuptial agreement. Maybe he said, you know what, I'm not going to sign it. And she felt at that point she was stuck. She was pregnant. She was like, you know what?
But it doesn't mean you have to be married if you're pregnant. It's we're not back in the 1920s and 30s. You don't have to get married. And I know a lot of people who have not been married. They've had the child. They've waited a few years and then they get married.
I think with her, Bethenny Frankel, she comes from a history of not having the family unit. Her dad left her when she was very young. Her mom remarried, but her mom kind of had this competition with her. So she didn't really have this family structure. And I think she was yearning so badly to create this happy family that maybe she did jump into it too quickly. But I would be so angry, Kerri, if I had to pay this much money. But I would be smart enough to have a prenuptial agreement.
You would be smarter. And if you did jump into something, you would get that done. You'd have the paperwork done. But I hope to God you never do that. I hope to God you take time to get to know the man that you love, because people change and people will put their good front on for as long as it takes for you to marry them.
Absolutely.
But if you wait, I say 3 years. Look, I was always the person who got on air and said, you know what, there needs to be a marriage license where you go into, you want a marriage, you have to wait 3 years. You have to go in for it. And then at the end of 3 years, you're still together, you're living together, you still want to get married, then you get your certificate.
Yeah.
So it's like yes, you'll be married, it's a pre-marriage, right? And then it'll be finalized in 3 years. Most of the time, you're not going to make it that far. And you just won't. And so, you don't go through the litigation. You're not splitting assets. You're not doing everything like that. So why there isn't something like that is beyond me.
Well, I'm really down for pre-marriage counseling.
Yeah.
Just, communicating. Communication is so important. And I think that's where a lot of people fail. And you know what? I'm guilty of this, of communicating via text message. It is the worst thing that you can do. You have to communicate one-on-one with that person, see their, reactions or tones. And I think technology really prohibits us from really connecting with significant others.
I was at a seminar a week ago, and a guy named Cameron Harold, wonderful speaker. He's written a book called Double Double. It's basically how to double your revenue or triple your revenue within a few years. And he works with all the biggest companies in this country and in Canada, and amazing speaker. If you ever get a chance to see him speak, go see him speak or pick up his book, because he was great. But he put up a sentence. It said, "I never said you were beautiful." Okay. And he goes, in text, you cannot communicate what you really want to say. And he goes, let me make my point. So he then made us put emphasis on every single word. He I never said you were beautiful. And then said, well, then put the emphasis on never. I never said you were beautiful. And we went and we put the effort, and it changed the meaning of that sentence, however many words, however many times, right? Changed it. And that's why when you communicate on text, you are not getting your true meaning through. And he said, never communicate
especially
like that on
something
text.
Important.
Never.
You're right.
Pick up the phone.
You're right.
I know.
You're right. Well, you're listening to Protecting Your Family on Talk Radio 790 KABC. And when we come back, we're going to give you the latest on B.B. King and Bobby Christina. Stay tuned. This is Talk Radio 790 KABC.